So, get this. Apparently, Montreal, my home city of approximately, 15 years now, a time frame in which I grew up, went through elementary school, middle school, high school, and lived a somewhat mediocre life until this point, has an annual movie festival that's been going on for about 30 years. Apparently, they've hosted a whole bunch of anime featurettes since then, including, but not limited to, Senka-Roll, Giovanni's Island, and a whole bunch more that both you and I have probably never heard of, or have, depending on how grounded you are. Now, I say apparently because apparently I've been living under a rock, because I've never heard this was a thing until 2 weeks ago. Do you know how livid I am that I've been missing out on this? I've been going to see every anime featured in their screenings for the past few days, which has only comprised a couple since the festival literally just started, but Christ alive, it's been fun. Like, truly fun. I've met directors, talked with a couple people in the industry, and I've truly had one of the best times I've had in recent memory. This leads into my lividity, because I am both ashamed of myself for missing this previously, but also truly curious as to how I actually could have. So much so that I actually had the opportunity to have a brief interaction with one of the curators, or directors of the festival. You know, the ones that find the movies to show? Yeah, that guy, but for the animation section specifically. And he mentioned this as well. So, Fantasia, I don't know what's happening with your advertising department, or if you have one at all for that matter, but if you need any help, shoot me a message. Like, genuinely, I don't have a background in marketing, but I will help you find a solution for this out of the kindness of my own heart, because this is absurd. Not only because I've been going to the university which you host at for 2 years, and I only found out because I showed up to summer classes, but also because I'm your target audience, and I would have remained oblivious if I hadn't in fact showed up. Anyways, rant over, moving on. Every year, the festival, with what I assume is their production committee of some sorts, puts together what's called an annual panoply of short-form anime works, which they air under the Bento banner. These works, short-form in nature and generally not created for the event specifically, are given the opportunity to premiere to an accepting audience, sometimes premiering regionally, but for the most part seeing their global premiere at the festival. Luckily enough, I was able to snag a ticket, and after being shocked at the 15 seconds or so of meowing in the dark at a theater screen that I didn't expect was coming, I experienced some very interesting works. Though I can't really do an in-depth review of each one, as I don't have access to them to rewatch and take notes, here's the gist of what I thought. The first movie shown was Echo, directed by Asuka Dokai, who you might know from her work on the music video for Yoasobi's song Money Money. Following a pregnant woman dealing with the grief of losing her husband, her unborn children go on an adventure to connect with their mother. It's a pretty simple story, and much of it isn't told to you directly. Background conversations infer the story to you indirectly, but it's not a cold story, far from it. This short story did in about 20 minutes what I've seen feature-length films struggle to do. It actually achieves a balance between telling a good story and looking visually impressive. I feel like I got sucked in by the emotional weight, a weight that actually left an impact. And that's really hard to do, especially with a short film like this. I watched Clannad After Story twice without crying, and even I was getting a little sad here. And that's without mentioning how good it looks too. The team behind this did an incredible job with the visuals, as well as with the character designs, with those cute little uterus monster things in the film. Listen, they didn't name the fucking things, which means I get to make a name, and all I can come up with is that, alright? I ain't calling it Steve. All in all, it was great. I actually got to sit next to the director during the screening of the entire anthology, and I told her that it was great. Of course, I had to go through a translator, one of the other directors, but still I think she got the message. I hope. Later on that day, after the screening of Cherry and Virgin, which I will be making a review of also, so stay tuned, the producer actually cornered me and asked me, this time through Google Translate, if he could record me for what I assume is promotional material, asking me what I liked about the movie. He also gave me a little uterus monster, I'm sticking with the name, to hold as I did so, which was super funny. Personal story aside, I highly recommend you check it out. This movie's only 20 minutes long, and it's very, very charming. If you're interested, you can check out the movie's website in the description below for more information. Future Kid Takara, directed by Yuta Sano, was the second work to be shown. Seemingly some sort of pastiche work based on Astro Boy. A robot boy and his elder mentor travel back in time to try and solve climate change. Alas, at 11 minutes long, it's only one short episode of a longer 11-episode series, originally commissioned for the 2025 Osaka World Expo to teach kids about climate change. So there's not really much that I can say. Content-wise, it's infantile, literally for kids, so I won't say much other than that. You could probably skip this one and not miss much. However, if you're a fan of Your Name and you like No Story, you'll love this one. That's a joke. Third on the list is 20,001 An Earth Odyssey, directed by Haruki Kasugamori, and written by Taiki Sakurai. If that second name didn't stand out to you, it probably should. Main screenwriter for Red Line, and episodic screenwriter for Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, Second Gig, and Solid State Society, among others, he's what you would call pretty good. Understatement of the century, by the way, but whatever. The story, again, is pretty simple, revolving around 3 aliens arriving in a post-apocalyptic Japan to figure out why humanity isn't there anymore. Similarly to the last work, it's a little infantile. However, unlike Takara, it has a certain charm to it. It's cute, and it's funny, to say the least. The main trio is a sort of Goldilocks affair going on between them, with the man being extreme in one direction, the woman in another, and the child figuring out the balance and solving a puzzle. It's a quick watch and a cute one at that, so I'd give it a go if you're interested. Don't Dodge Life is the fourth work presented, directed by Takayuki. This one takes the bronze for me, of course with Echo in first place and the next work in second. The story focuses on a grocery store employee who's become dissatisfied with life, subsequently meeting the embodiment of life itself who shows her why life is worth living. Compared to some of the others in this compilation, this one focuses heavily on certain themes like life, death, and how the contrast between them grants meaning to both, rather than trying to tell some sort of story that is half fleshed out. Hell, the characters don't even have names. Complemented by the pastelish artwork, it's a good short film, and I'd watch it again if I could. Ambivalent Garden is up next, and if you're expecting me to give a little synopsis of the plot, it's gonna be real hard, because this is some avant-garde, no dialogue type stuff, and goddamn is it good. Directed by Nagomi Ueno, it paints a picture of what I guess is discussion between different personalities and understandings through a heavy use of Buddhist imagery, lotus flowers and the like. I genuinely cannot do this one service. It's visually stunning and it'll leave you wondering what the hell you just watched. I highly recommend this one. Foxing Kitsune-tsuki, written by Takeru Shinozuka, was the sixth film shown, following a junior animator suffering from creative block and self-doubt personified by a mischievous fox. This film, along with Don't Dodge Life, shares some kinship in their portrayal of labor as an emotionally draining act that leaves those who engage with it tortured. Though unlike each other, they both have different resolutions, with one engaging with work to find a sense of purpose, and another using it as a means of differentiation between what's important in life. All of the main characters' self-conscious thoughts are embodied by a different monster, with each monster personifying the very trait they exist because of. The fox, personifying self-doubt and harsh self-criticism, cowers behind a mask, afraid to be seen for what it really is. It's an interesting take on fighting the demons within ourselves, doubly so for anybody who's involved in anything creative. It's neat, so give it a try. Last but certainly not least is Dust of the Simulacrum. Unlike the others, this one's entirely 3D CG animation, with most of the aspects of the film, the writing, the animation, done entirely by the director, Mitsufuchi. The story follows a young girl on a journey through a rough world, saved by a rogue who helps her reach her goal. In the introduction to the film, the director boldly claimed that he believed in the ability for 3D CG to take over in some regards from typical hand animation, and that this film would hopefully shift the audience's opinion from the negative stereotypes that CG animation has in the anime sphere. As you may or may not know if you've watched a couple of my other videos, I'm a huge fan of other CG anime works. CG can work great if used to the technology's potential, and a lot of studios do exactly that. Take, for example, Yuki Kaze, which is more than 20 years old, Code Geass's Akira the Exiled series, or some of the newest Gundam movies like the Hathaway movies. They integrate CG into their animation skillfully, in a place where it fits. Dust of the Simulacrum does a good job at doing so as well, doubly so since it's practically a fully independent work. The animation style is comparable to a Bandai Annie game, if you've ever played one of those, or like one of those more recent fully CGI anime projects like Girls Band Cry or Blame. However, I did find it suffered from the lack of a coherent story. There was a sort of stuck in the digital realm Matrix type deal as the basis for the story, with the director even stating that he was directly inspired by the Matrix after I asked him what inspired the movie. However interesting that may be, the story just kind of happens. Unlike Echo, the first movie, it doesn't strike a balance between visuals and storytelling, focusing more on the visuals instead. And while Mitsufuchi does a great job in that sector, it doesn't feel the same for the story. Again, I'll stress that for an independent work such as this, it's still fantastic, and I think the director did a great job in trying to push the envelope. If you're interested in CG animation, I'd really recommend you give this one a watch. And that's basically it for all the 7 films shown at Animated Bento 2026. Truly, I think all the films shown were great. Of course, some of these were more interesting than the others, and you might have a different opinion than I do about a few of these, but they were all novel pieces of animation that I was glad to have seen in person. After the screening, there was a poster signing opportunity with all the directors, which was nice of them. I don't know if this is common, probably because it was my first time at a film festival, let alone at a film premiere, but I wasn't expecting that, so it was a welcome surprise. I also got to ask a couple of questions to a couple of them, and they were very happy to respond. And listen, signed posters from directors is always an awesome thing to get. I swear, I've had the biggest shit-eating grin on my face for the last few days every time I look at them. Overall, bar the whole I didn't know this shit existed thing, I had a good time, and I've been continuing to have a good time at the festival. If you've stuck around this long, congratulations for having an attention span. My name's Arnold, and when I'm not procrastinating, I make anime-related content every so often, so if you're interested in that sort of thing and you like the video, feel free to like and subscribe, it's appreciated. I also happened to catch the world premiere of Cherry and Virgin that same day, which I will be making a review of that'll probably go up in the next week or so. That movie was fantastic, so stay tuned if you're interested in that. Anyways, thanks for sticking around, see you soon.